Mm-hmm. Welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm Junor Francis. This series celebrates the ska, rocksteady, and vintage reggae scene in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legends and modern-day players, including those behind the scene. This is the 27th one-on-one session and our 12th in this new podcast and YouTube channel format. Thanks for your ongoing support. Today, we welcome two guests, Tara Hahn, front woman for the Orange County, California-based 9-piece ska band, Half Past Two, who has just released their new self-titled album on Pay Attention Records. And a returning guest, Wren, veteran radio DJ, was just out here in Southern California, promoter and record label owner and operator of Jump Up Records, and now in partnership with Ska Punk Daily, co-founder, Pay Attention Records. Yes. Welcome, Tara and Chuck. It's great to have you both with us.
Hi.
Yes, indeed. Wonderful, wonderful. So how you guys feeling?
I feel great. Yeah.
Chuck, you recovered or recuperated from your travels last week from Southern California?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, really ran me ragged. Afternoon gigs and then evening gigs, and then in between the two, you guys had me do all kinds of interviews.
Which was going to be part of the introduction. We are coming off a high from past Saturday top ranking and the Unclub and both the Birth of Ska Boom, which took place this past weekend, two places.
Yeah,
Grammy Museum, and then at that restaurant. Why is the name escaping me now?
Mermaid Club.
Yes, man. And Chuck, you actually didn't sleep for like 4 days.
I added it up. I added it up, and I went 41 hours at some point prior to coming out there without true sleep.
That's a young man's game.
It is a young man's game, but
wow.
I can't really count those 3.5 hours of being on the Spirit Airlines flight, doing this as sleep. So that does not count.
But that's not fair though, to be doing a commercial for Spirit, but that's okay. They probably pay you big money.
I will not get the sponsorship deal with that herky jerky invitation. So
yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for making that journey, man, all the way from the windy city of Chicago to spin at both events and the after.
Yeah, it was great. I mean,
it was wild. You guys had some really awesome people there. I was sitting in the back. I was in the back.
So you left early? You didn't stick around and socialize, Tara?
No, I had to leave before. Some of my bandmates play horns in the Untouchables, so I was gonna stay to watch them, but I had another ska thing to do, so I had to leave and go hang out with some other sort of ska friends that were visiting Southern California.
Wow. So. Fantastic, you're staying busy. So since you were in the audience, since you were in the audience there and a follow-up ska musician, what did you observe from an audience perspective point of view?
Well, it felt, it was strange because when I was coming, I've never been to a panel of yours before. And when I got there, it just seemed like everybody was sort of like friends and they were sharing their stories, like even the people in the audience. And I get so excited in those situations because it makes me excited about being in a ska band and how and I kept telling my bandmate that I was with, I was like, maybe one day we'll be sitting on stage at the Grammy Museum and talking about ska. Our band. Yeah. And so I just thought that was really cool. And then the other thing obviously I saw a lot of band members and players in the scene that I really admire. So it was really cool to see some of those people together sometimes on the same stage. But also it just really inspired me because I ran home to my bandmates and I said, I want to write some dance music. I want to write some dance songs because that's all I heard everyone talking about was just we wanted to dance and this is what drove us to, going to the club and starting our own bands and stuff. So I don't know. It was kind of electric. I liked it. I liked everything that was going on there. So it's cool.
Wonderful. So Chuck, I want to ask you perhaps a more serious question. Do you remember when you first discovered the Box Boys and the Untouchables?
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about memory.
Shouldn't that have been part of the panel discussion? Maybe I should have been on the panel discussion, guys.
Yeah, I guess you missed that.
This is how you make up for it. Well, the Untouchables, I mean, I was in 7th grade, and it was around like 1985, and I think I joked with you guys in the past that one of my best friends had a cool older sister, and she had Selector posters on her wall and loved all the two-tone stuff. But here's the kicker. So she had a Untouchables homemade jean jacket. And that was just the icing on the cake for me. I'm like, wait a minute. What is this band you made your own jean jacket for? I mean, this was 1985. And that's how I kind of learned about the Untouchables, and I heard the music coming from her room, and the fact that they were on Stiff Records, made that connection for me because of, Madness and stuff like that. The Box Boys were a little bit more of a unique find that came, many years later. The short story of it was in the early 90s when I was promoting shows at Metro, and, basically I got involved playing records and being a DJ, not because I wanted to. It's because I was tired of these big shows happening at clubs like Metro, where the sound guy would play the music in between bands, and it would always be Black Sabbath. It was always Black Sabbath. And there was nothing that killed the mood, I felt like, at a ska show than some like kind of, sludgy rock or metal. So, I still remember just being, 18-year-old college kid and sending a message, to the owners of, the prominent club in Chicago saying, I really think you're killing the mood. If you want to build community, you need to have it be a ska event from start to finish. And, I have a radio show, I have records, let me play records. I don't need to get paid. I don't want to get paid. What I want to do is just help create a community and a good time for everybody.
And a more smooth transition.
Yeah, with, smooth transitions. And, so when I started doing that, I mean, this is like, 1990, 1991. And basically I played 80s vinyl records because it was the early 90s. I mean, there wasn't other stuff to play, as strange as that is to say, So, discovering bands like the Box Boys and their old vinyl 45s, I played those to death, to audiences at Metro at like special beat shows and Selector shows and Let's Go Bowling shows, whoever was coming through in the early 90s. And I'm 99% sure I found that record on a trip to New York City when I used to always go shop at Bleecker Bob's. And Bleecker Bob's had a ska box. And you would literally go there and be behind the counter, and I say, Bob, can I see the ska box? And I would just buy anything that I didn't have. It was as simple as that. And discovering the Box Boys, I think it was the Skeletons in the Closet 45, that was enough for me, and their sound was so cool. It was American, it was new wavy, it was two-tone, but it was, Americanized two-tone. And, even for like a 21-year-old kid, that was like a mind-blowing thing for me that, Americans in the early 80s, made their own brand of two-tone. And that's why when Mark did the book and you did this on club thing, I mean, I don't think I sent a message faster to anyone saying, I want to fly out and be a part of this. Please let me do it. Because it's kind of a concept that, I've been talking about for years, that, ska really did lay down roots in America in the 80s. It wasn't all about the 90s. It was really in the 80s, but the scenes were also isolated and no one knew that they were doing it, and other people in other parts of the country were doing it. And I think you guys touched upon it on the panel that bands really didn't tour. They didn't leave their region. So they never really discovered that there were other bands like themselves, all across the country.
Yeah, touring was definitely a luxury. So Theodore,
Yeah.
when and how did you first get exposed to ska? And was it ska from the UK or ska from the motherland?
Well, when I was younger, I was listening to ska and I had no idea.
What kind of
My dad would play sort of like stuff he would see on like Dance Craze and like the 80s and stuff. He wasn't like a big ska person, but he had like English Beat and Madness, and he had Selector, and so I listened to those things. I didn't know they were ska. And then I grew up in the late 90s. I was in middle school in like 97 and 96, like I started middle school, and that's kind of when in Orange County it got really like crazy about kind of like ska punk and like third wave. So that was really, 13 is a really impressionable age. And my very first like ska experience was my aunt, who was only a few years older than me. I thought she was like the coolest person on the planet. And she was yeah, and she was really, really into ska, like ska punk and third wave. And she would take me to shows when I was like 13 years old. And it was just, everyone was like having fun and dancing, and I loved the fashion, and I just loved everyone running around and like talking to each other, congregating. There's all these different kinds of people, like punky looking people, and like there were still mods, and there were 90s just like crazy whatever kids and
alternative kids,
just like alternative kids, and so that kind of drew me in, and that's how it started, I guess. And then in high school, I went to a high school where a lot of like the lead singer of Real Big Fish went, like basically Real Big Fish started like at my high school. Wow. And then like the lead singer of Say Ferris went to my high school, Monique. And so ska was like, and RX Bandits, like they started at my high school. So it was pretty big in that area. So we just sort of, we came in at the wrong time, I would say, but that's why it's such a love for me, I guess.
And some of your earliest musical influences? Individual musicians or bands that influence you?
I would say for me personally, bands like Dance Hall Crashers and Save Ferris, and of course No Doubt, I really gravitated toward like female singers. When I was growing up, like I said, I loved the Selector. I didn't know they were ska, but I thought Pauline Black was like the coolest. Like I had like little postcard of her that I found like in a toy store, like in the middle. Anyway, those were like my influences. But I think the band always says one of our biggest influences is Real Big Fish, because like I said, they are from our area, and that's just, we were crazy about them at that time.
Tell us about your band formation.
But our band formation, okay, well, we formed in high school for a talent show. I wasn't in the band yet, but I was sort of like around. And then at the end of high school, that's why we're called 2:30, by the way. That was the time we got out of school. Nice and wholesome. Yeah, nice and wholesome. So cheesy, but nice. 14 years later, we like I said, it started like that, just a talent show sort of thing, and there were a lot of people in it, mostly from marching band. And I joined because I was like ending high school, and I was always a singer in high school, and I was in choir. I wanted to keep going, so my friends were like, try out for this ska band. I did, and like they picked me. I don't know, and here I am. I'm still
and
here.
You've been with them. You've been with them since.
Yes, there was like a 2-year hiatus where like I tried to move to LA and try other types of music, and like make it, or whatever they say, and it was really difficult. So I kind of like ran back to ska, and I ran back to my band, and I said, I'm so sorry, and they took me back. So and I've been ever since. Yeah.
Right move. So Chuck, when did you initially meet Phil from the Ska Punk Daily?
Oh, we met in the 90s. He was
long time, many years of friendship.
He was coming through the USA, like seeing a bunch of Ska Against Racism shows.
He's from Australia.
And he's from Australia. Sorry, I should have said that. And I think he was also following, if my memory serves me correctly, Frenzal Rhomb, like a pop punk band from Australia that were pretty popular at the time. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but he actually was hanging out with the co-host of my radio show back in the day, a girl that I went to college with. And just one day they sort of, were going to multiple shows together, and she brought him onto our radio show one day. So he came on our radio show, like, had to be like 1997 or 98. He'd have a better memory of that. And the funny thing is, I didn't really meet that many Australians back then. So when he started up Ska Punk Daily, he's like, I don't think you're going to remember me. I was hanging out with your friend and I came on your radio show. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally remember you. I'm like, weren't you like touring and following like Frenzal Rhomb around? I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I mean, someone coming all the way from Australia to, see shows across America. I don't really know exactly how he ended up staying here and when he came back, but we met like 25 or 20 plus years ago. And the one thing that made a true impression on me even back then was, I mean, this guy is a true fan, right? I mean, you love music to the extent that you're willing to travel all the way to the other parts of the world to follow your favorite music and bands. And I think that was truly part of why he started Ska Punk Daily. I mean, to say he's one of the the biggest ska fans out there in general is
You
not.
also have to have disposable funds to do that, right?
What was that?
You have to have disposable funds to travel around.
Oh, I think he does okay.
Yeah, but if you don't have money, you can't go anywhere. You can't even go to.
I think he's one of those smart guys that didn't try to make a living in the music industry, but once you do okay, you can then really contribute to the music industry for people like me, who are always going to be living on the edge. So
Join the club. So how did Pay Attention Records come about?
How did Jump Up come about?
Oh, Pay Attention. We know how Jump Up came about.
Pay attention. Well, yeah, I thought we did that Jump Up story already. Well, basically,
we can revisit that too.
No, there's no need to.
All right.
But basically, Pay Attention came about because whether people know it or not, but Philip is definitely one of the main reasons why the Ska Against Racism compilation came out in 2020. Not only was he one of the people who pushed the idea across the finish line, but he was definitely one of the workhorses that contacted the majority of the bands and was smart enough to bring in some heavy hitters to like I said, get the record over the finish line. Mike from Bad Time and Mike Park from Asian Man. So it was basically his vision in many ways that moved that whole project into motion. And I think as the story got retold over and over again in the press, I kind of think Philip didn't really get his true dues. As everyone picked up the story from the previous time, it seemed like unfortunately his name and his contribution was lessened with each story. So people like me pick up on stuff like that and say, look, I know you're the guy. I know you made this happen, man. So anytime you want to do something that you're fully the man behind, I mean, I'll back you. And after he kind of took a break from Ska Punk Daily for a little bit, and he came back and said, well, did you mean everything you said? I'm like, absolutely. Like, I would love to, partner up with you and use your vision, to put out records by bands that you champion. I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, Jump Up kind of at one point, I think, positioned itself a little bit more in the traditional, right, and two-tone worlds. And, what's sad is, I started out putting out a lot of ska punk records. I mean, my early compilations and bands like the Eclectics or Telegraph or the Exceptions, I mean, I put out ska punk records, and I think, you know, that was kind of forgotten on a lot of people today. But, you know, because where Jump Up was kind of in its international standing, you know, I didn't also feel like I was on my own, really geared to be able to work in that kind of ska punk world again. Like, I don't think, you know, a band that I would approach would feel like I was the perfect fit. And I don't think that's an insult to any bands or to myself. I think it's just a true, you know, reality, you know, that I wasn't the perfect fit for some of these bands, even though, you know, on the outside, I'm like watching them and thinking, you know, bands like Half Past Two are phenomenal, you know. And, you know, when we kind of started the label, and, you know, he had worked on the California Too Hectic Ska Comp, you know, it was funny. He said, well, you know, one of the, you know, bands I really want to work with, you know, is Half Past Two. And I said, oh, that's fantastic, you know, because, you know, I basically, you know, admitted at that time that, you know, I wanted to do, you know, work with Half Past Two, but I didn't feel, and maybe it was just me being, you know, a little insecure at the time. I said, I didn't feel like I was the proper fit. Because, you know, not that the ska punk world and the traditional two-tone worlds can't collide, but, you know, there are some, you know, significant divisions. But you know, the teamwork of someone like Philip and myself could be good for everybody, because I would be very, you know, good to bring the punkier ska sounds or the poppier ska sounds over to, you know, my world, and vice versa. You know, that some of the people who, you know, got into more of the ska punk sounds over the past 2 or 3 years all of a sudden would have access to, you know, bands like the Toasters or bands like Boomtown United, that, you know, I think bands that have the energy, right, that would appeal to, you know, a fan of ska punk, but they might not have been on their radar because, well, you know, they weren't necessarily, you know, coming to my website or hadn't gotten a free sampler at Supernova or whatever the deal was.
Right.
So, you know, the whole, you know, collaboration I thought was just a win-win for everybody. And, you know, Philip knows what he's doing.
Yes,
He's got
and
really
and
good
and it,
taste.
it really and truly has been. It has been a win-win-win.
Yeah,
You know,
and
Sarah,
people love
what
that
does
comp.
Orange County ska scene mean to you as we now speak?
What does it
What
mean
was that
right
again?
now?
I switch to Tara.
Oh, yeah. Right now, I mean, pandemic times so strange. It's not really popping right now, but I would say before.
So, yeah, was there
Yeah,
a scene
before.
before or it
Oh
died out?
yeah, we have a wonderful scene. And you know, bands are always coming through, so I think that really feeds our scene, is that, like, you know, it never, like, ska punk and Orange County style ska music, it never really went away. Maybe it wasn't popular, but, like, here we've been a band for 14 years now, and in Orange County. And kind of like you guys were saying before, like, we didn't leave. We didn't really go to LA. We didn't go to San Diego, or even, we were Orange County. And so the scene right now, it seems even bigger than it's even in Orange County, just because I hear about new ska bands from all over the place. But here, you know, we just support each other. Everyone goes to each other's shows and they bring people. We're really into, like, making sure people, that's one of the things I always tell people at shows: bring your neighbor, bring, like, your kid's sister, bring whoever. So we try and do everything, all ages, as much as possible, to make sure that the community keeps going. And we also try and play with bands that aren't just ska bands, you know, just to see if we can, like, hook somebody, you know, get them into ska music. Maybe they had never heard it before or something. And I think that's what kind of keeps it alive and keeps it going, is just keeping it like a community, like you guys were saying before.
So Half Past Two is one of the few contemporary ska bands who perform on shows with punk, ska, and just about even traditional sounds. Is that a strategic choice for you to play with a variety?
It's sort of strategic. It's more just like, like I said, we started when we were in high school, and we've been a band a long time. And for a long time, we've been doing this alone, meaning like no label help, nothing. And so we just do what we want. So like if we want to make something that sounds traditional, then we will. Like last year we were like, oh, it sounds like people are really into like getting back into traditional ska, so let's write an EP. So like that's what we did. We made an EP, and then sometimes we want to make a song that sounds like it's full of like 80s hair metal, but like mixed with ska. Because we're just like, why not? We want to hear it. And there's literally no one to say no to us. So, I mean, maybe now because we're on Pay Attention, maybe Chuck would say like, I don't know about this, but no, they've been really supportive. So,
No. So has it been a
No, I think the record is great because it's so diverse.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we tried to like mix it up, and that's pretty much us. Is just trying to.
So is it a good thing or a bad thing to not have label support?
I think it's like it can be a double-edged sword. I not with Pay Attention, because I think like they are Pay Attention itself, not Jump Up, but Pay Attention is a sort of like a baby label. So we're all sort of like coming into our own as far as like Phil. Phil's learning from us. We're learning from Phil and Chuck. Yeah. We're all learning from Chuck. But I think the biggest. The biggest difference, like to me, besides all the help with the records and everything, is just it feels weird that somebody believes in us, that they're like, yeah, we want to put our eggs in your basket too, because for a long time ska music ska punk music has been considered like a joke. So we also considered ourselves sort of a joke. So when people also want to take us seriously, as serious as we take ourselves, it's I don't know. I want to like cry sometimes just thinking.
That's the way it should be.
How you guys, I feel like, they like stuck their neck out for us, and we want to make everyone proud, So.
I feel that, a partner is, should believe in your art as much as you believe in your art. So, we're doing everything we can. Like we're in the band and, picking up gear and setting up before your show, if, we can't do that for you, then we're going to do, other things like that,
Yeah.
Nice. So Chuck, how did the first compilation, Too Hectic California Ska Punk, sell? And were you happy with the overall response?
Oh yeah, I mean it was pretty nuts. And in fact, Phil crashed my website.
It was a financial bonanza.
Yeah, Phil crashed my website.
Yeah, crashed the website.
Yeah, for about 25 minutes.
Wow.
The response was so good that
it's not a joke.
It made my life. No, it was true. Yeah, it made it complicated for a good half an hour. But he was completely right that people were looking for a collection that exposed all the ska punk type bands that were coming out of California. And I remember he told me this idea. He's like, well, it's kind of like a modern version of California Ska Quake. I'm like, I think that's the most amazing thing I could ever be told. I mean, you're right. It's something that just hasn't happened in like 20 plus years. And I literally, he started rattling off the bands, and was all people that he had relationships with, and he really truly believed in, and he had in many cases songs from those bands already like picked in his head, and there were certain aspects of him putting that collection that seemed like just a majestic alley-oop. It was he had gotten all the tracks together, and then I said, well, now you got the tricky part of really coming up with the flow, right, the song order that makes someone want to listen to it again and again. And that was not a challenge to him. It was like 24 hours later, like, got it.
All by himself.
And I listened to it, and I said, yeah, I completely and utterly agree with this, and there was a really nice vibe to it. It had a lot of diversity of sounds, even though it's, a ska punk album. I mean, it's all across the board. And, there were a couple things that were added in there that was just kind of a nice, mix, songs that weren't so much ska punk, but bands that appealed, whether due to energy or location, they appealed to that scene. So you had bands like, Monkey on there, or, Left Alone. I mean, it was just really well done. And I remember, the only input that I had, the rest he ran with, he had the artist, picked, he had a concept of, how the illustration would go. I mean, literally my only true input was like on minor, details on design. He had the whole music ready. He had everything, set in stone in his mind. But my only thing I said was, well, it's California. You got to have a couple Latin ska bands represented. And I said, and, I'm not being so bold, but I really want Gabriela Penca to be on it, because I saw them play in Chicago. They flew out for this like mini Latin ska fest, and I was blown away.
Wow.
By this band. Like it was so intricate and diverse, that the types of music that they mixed in with ska, that I just said, it wasn't
I suggested them too. When he was asking me, I was like, I got this band for you. And I sent it to him.
Did you? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we've played with
They're
them
that
before.
good. We have to check them out.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to. Oh my gosh.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah. They draw
Yeah.
a big crowd too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That we, accidentally double teamed Phil. He's just like, oh, okay. But I think that goes back to the community, that, when a band like, Gabriela Penca all of a sudden finds out that they have fans and, outside of the Latin ska world, and
Yes.
one of them's in a, super, popular Orange County band. The other one runs a couple labels, it's that's got to be a good feeling, I think.
Yeah,
but they earned it,
Mhm.
they
Yes.
earned that acclimate. So, that comp was great. I still listen to it, and it's still, we still have, there's only a handful of records left. I found
It looks really cool too. Just the artwork on it alone.
Yeah, the color and everything. Yeah.
I
So
saw
you don't do
Supernova
repressing?
people buying it.
You don't repress if there's a demand?
Yeah, we'll do it someday.
Mhm. Yes.
I mean, the weird thing about, the industry now is records are so popular that just things that used to be, easy, like, okay, we'll repress that. I'll have that in 3 weeks. It's like now, it's like to get a repress, could take you 6 months, I mean, it's, unless you, really start leaning on people or pulling favors, it's really hard to get things done. And, that's a whole nother, episode.
You're not
I'm
kidding.
not here to complain about, records being popular. I mean, the fact that, vinyl's popular means I don't have to have a job where I have to put a tie on. I mean, I can, live this kind of Peter Pan lifestyle for a little longer. But it's really like great, because, it is keeping a certain youth to the music scene, that like people want to collect things again, hold things in their hand.
Yes.
Because there was a time where everyone said everything was going to be on computers and digital and this and that, and
But they were
people
dead
like
wrong.
me were like, yeah, people like me were like, well, not for me,
Right.
and there were enough people
You
like me
remain
that
old
said,
school.
well, if
And
there's
it
people
paid
like
off.
me
It
out
paid
there,
off, obviously. It paid off for
right?
you.
Right. If there are people like me out there who don't really sign up for this all digital or nothing world, then, we're the people who are going to be putting out, CDs and tapes and records. And,
Refuse
eventually,
compromise.
other people will believe in what we believe in. So,
Yes.
here we are today with,
Mhm.
everything being so popular. I mean, Walmart just rolled out a Stranger Things, cassette boombox. I mean, it's so now
Coming back.
cassettes are, so
And you're ready.
mainstream that,
You're ready for the
Walmart's getting
challenge.
involved. Yeah,
You're ready
it's
for
kind
the
of crazy.
Yes. As we move along, now Terra, 2:30 stayed busy during the pandemic and subsequently grew your fan base overall to a lot of exposure. Can you please elaborate how you guys were able to do that during the pandemic when everybody else perhaps went underground? Some people, I don't know where they went.
I'm a little surprised too, because there are 9 of us. So, I mean, the logistics of that obviously are very strange, especially in this pandemic time. But I have to give a lot of credit to Pot of Gold Recording in Orange, California. It's run by David Irish, who a lot of people in ska know. He does front of house for Interrupters. He's been with Real Big Fish for a million years. But I mean, everything stopped for him too. He was supposed to be like on tour with like Interrupters and Green Day and like, Weezer and all them, and everything stopped. So he was like, hey, what are you guys doing? Do you want to record some stuff? So we just kept busy. We decided we were going to write an album, as maybe it wasn't the way we wanted to write it, because we had to write in different places. We were calling each other and trying to write over the phone. We were trying to figure out how we could write on Zoom, but there's like delays, and meet in very limited groups, like with distancing, all stuff. So the album was really hard to write, but we just kind of plugged along. And the other thing that I noticed was just that as soon as everything sort of shut down here, like the internet went like all of a sudden there were ska bands in places I didn't even think about, all over the world, all over the country, and everybody was trying to get a hold of each other. Everybody was just like, do you want to do something together? Because now I bought all this equipment to like record at home, and it's possible to do it at home. So yeah, we just sort of reached out to friends, and we each built up each other. We all just started, pumping up each other. Everybody in ska music is kind of like small right now. So it's everyone's accessible. Everybody's ready to help each other and like and build the community, even though it's not in your city. They're trying to build like the ska community at large.
I got that sense in Mexico when I was here 2 weeks ago. But for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, what's the name of the CD you just mentioned in passing?
In passing?
And that you guys were working on a CD.
Oh, we had at the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic, we released an EP called Something Blue, and it was just
so the title is Something Blue.
It's Something Blue, yeah, and it's like more traditional ska. So we did that, and then and then also during the pandemic, we just started sort of releasing like singles, or we're doing covers and making videos. Clever. Yeah, we try. I mean, our thing is your
fan base grew astronomically. Wow.
I know. Well, we had a lot of content for them to grab onto. Everyone was pretty bored.
Yeah, that was smart. That was very smart.
Yeah.
Yes. So any new band members, or it's the same original members, Tara?
Well, we have a joke, 100 years, 100 members, because because we're a ska band, and like I said, we have 9 people, so we're just a band that likes to we like horns, we like guitars and keys, we like it all. So yes, we've had lots of member changes. Probably we're up in the 30s now, but
over the past 14 years.
Yeah, over the past 14 years.
So 2 a year is not that bad. 7 2 is 14. 3 a year.
It's not too bad, but it's because people get jobs, start families. They don't want to play ska music anymore. They never wanted to play ska music. It's just and being in a band can be expensive. There's lots of things. And these days we have like all these new goals. So it's one of those things where we're just like, does everyone still want to be in the band? Because now we want to do all this stuff that we never told anybody we thought we could do before, like go play Supernova, all the way in Virginia, 9 people, everyone was really surprised. Yeah. Well,
people are massively excited about the changes, right? And the challenges.
Yeah. And everyone's
Virginia,
really pumped to be in the band.
Perhaps Europe next.
That would be really cool. Well, the thing about Supernova is we submitted to Supernova in 2019 to be part of 2020, and we got the rejection letter. So we were a little sad. And then in 2020, we got to be a part of like the virtual Supernova, and everybody liked us so much that Tim asked us to play on Friday. And we were like shocked. We were like, what? They told us no. Like they were like, no. And now they're asking us to go. So, we had to go. And I told everyone, this might be the only cool thing we ever get to do. So let's just go.
No, be optimistic. A lot of good things coming. You guys stick together.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you're really committed to, working with the band. That's good. But then, awesome singer.
Also, I think, Tim to some extent, came to his senses and realized, hey, they're a good fit. And you're kind of like the Orange County ska band that does have appeal in the more traditional and two-tone worlds. I mean, it's a lot of the people who are into like more traditional sounds, their gateway band was a 90s ska punk band. So I really feel they do have like the lineage back to that sound, and they feel nostalgic about it. And having a band or two like that on a bill like Supernova just makes sense. There's enough.
That's excellent.
I mean, it just made sense. I'm glad he did it.
It was a blast. It was a blast.
So, Chuck, I'd be remiss not to ask you about Jump Up Records. Since our last interview, what has been happening with the label and the record so far?
All kinds of stuff. Wait, when do we do our interview? Was it?
I don't have the July.
Oh, Eric, July. Yeah, well, I put out a whole bunch of records for Record Store Day on my own terms.
What does that mean?
Scatolites reissue. What did I do? I did a Scatolites reissue. I did a new Bim Scala Bim album. I did a Scofflaws reissue, which is one of those things where you put out a reissue and you think, well, how many people out there are looking for the Scofflaws on vinyl, right? And you think it's going to, and that was one of the records that I literally called in a favor to repress. Like I begged the plant. I said, I completely underestimated this. I am kind of oversold on records I don't have. And I begged, pleaded, and, swapped out a job just to get it on the press. So, that was stressful, but very fulfilling that, a band like the Scofflaws, people didn't forget them. People are out there buying records and really want to re-enjoy those records, re-enjoy the music on vinyl again. But the more interesting release I did was this Skank and Lizard release, and it would have totally fit in with the, Grammy discussion world we just had, because they were an all-white Jewish Chicago reggae band that started in 1978.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, they were all like college friends, and they started out by playing, Bob Marley and third world covers, but eventually they started writing their own songs, and they were basically forgotten, not only in Chicago, but kind of in the world. And I found the original singer who's just, on Facebook, and he still went to shows. He would still show up at like Cali Roots Fest and all these festivals. So people knew him, and he would talk about, his old band, but I want people to actually be able to get something, other than just like a YouTube link. So I did a vinyl reissue of some of the tracks I liked the most. And when I listened to it, I thought to myself, well, this is almost a predecessor of that kind of rock reggae California Cali Roots sound that's big now. Like, here's a band from Chicago,
right?
In like 1981,
when those guys weren't even born.
Yeah, doing this sound. So there was some crossover. There were people out there in the reggae world that really liked that record, because it's kind of what's going big now, right? With that kind of non-Jamaican, homegrown US reggae scene. That's kind of the sound that it is now. So that was so fulfilling, because every one of those sales makes you feel like you've contributed something to the world, that you saved this band's, legacy, and I was able to get the Chicago Reader to do a piece on it and all this stuff. And now the guys got back together to rehearse. Last summer, and they're going to do a reunion show sometime in 2021. So, you guys had the Box Boys reunion, first show in like 40 years. Well, I mean, they were playing till like 1996, but we'll have a Skank and Lizard first show in like 27 years kind of thing in Chicago. But that was like some of the main things I did since we last talked. I did a Mr. Kingpin record. Obviously, working those to Pay Attention releases, like the brand new 2:30 album. But the more alarming thing is, in that amount of time, I have records at 5 different pressing plants across the world right now. Yeah, because that's how clogged up the industry is. That some of the pressing plants that I use just for represses once in a while, they're now doing new releases for me. So it's super stressful. Like there are literally times when I can't remember which pressing plant a certain project's at, and I'll get a call from—
That's understandable.
Yeah, you get a call from the guy at that plant, and I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? Oh, I sent that to you. Okay, cool. So I've got about 5 records that I'm trying to get out in November for Black Friday. And that's gonna stress me out to no end.
Why is that so?
It really will.
Generating income, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's and there are going to be bands going on tour with these records because one is a Christmas 45, and one's a new Roger Rivas record. Speaking of LA people, and a Mephistopheles project. So there's all kinds of cool stuff coming. They'll help the bands sell something new at their merch tables too. Yeah. I mean, everything's a partnership, right? So
of course.
I tell everybody, like, sometimes people check in with me, they're like, well, how's the record doing? I'm like, it's doing fine, but I'm here, for the long game. It's like I tell bands all the time, like, my job is not to steal your sales and fans. Okay. Ultimately, that is not of any interest to me. If I'm doing my job right, I'm finding new fans for your band. I am doing, that work at all time, whether it's having like a sale where you get 4 or 5, choices for a good deal on the website, or just constantly plugging, every time I have a new release, I try to, remind everyone of all the other records that came out recently, and then of the records that came out maybe not so recently. So, by me constantly putting out new records, it's good for everybody because no one gets left behind. Everyone is part of the success.
That's a brilliant way to look at it, right?
Yeah. And, sometimes the best thing is when I do like one of these crazy sales where people get to choose a bunch of records for a good deal. I get messaged all the time, and people say that, oh, my favorite new ska band I discovered from your 3 for $50 deal, or your they came with a koozie and a slip mat. I've got that too, but they really are doing it for the music, and when it's a good deal, they can discover new bands, and that's super important to me. That I constantly keep trying to bring everyone up at the same time.
Yes.
In fact, I get more bummed when I get a mail order and it's just Mephistopheles. Nothing against these bands, mind you, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this Toasters record and this Pie Tasters record and this Mephistopheles record. Okay, check out. And you're like, well, that's cool. I'm glad you remember these bands and are, but that's why that mail order has a catalog going in it with all the new bands that are coming. That's why that mail order has a sampler CD, that makes you put it in your car when you drive around and listen to new bands. I have to look at that, sale, as much as that's kind of boring in my mind. I have to look at that as an opportunity that, I didn't have, previously. Right. So if I can get a Toasters fan to all of a sudden love 2:30, that's the win, right? That's the goal, at all times. And I've got like-minded partners all around the world that are also trying to do that stuff, and that's why I'm carrying their records and trying to expose, people like Dr. Ringding, to American fans. And by someone like me always having a Dr. Ringding record and all his catalog in stock, I'm positioned to, promote his career in the US at all times. And
so you're not just selling records, you're going
right,
beyond.
exactly. And that person in Germany is doing the same thing for my roster. So
yes, sir.
you know, it's very rewarding to, you know, pack up all these trade orders and all of a sudden ship, you know, 50 or 60 2 records to 2 or 3 European partners, you know, which that will probably start happening next week, you know, and then they'll find people and, you know, the circle of life continues, you know, because eventually the 2 record won't be brand spanking new, but it will still be, you know, finding new fans. And then some other new record I put out helps, you know, move a few more 2 records, you know, 6 months later, you know.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
you know, I kind of look at records as being new for 2-3 years around here, to be honest.
Nice. So last question before fan questions from our producer. Now, Tara, how did your involvement with Wood Girl Review at the Supernova came about? And it's a 2 question. And are there plans for your involvement to continue?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked me this question, because I was so excited when the girls reached out to me, because I am obviously the one that is the furthest away, and I had nothing to do with it, honestly. I have to give all the credit to, you know, I can't even remember everyone's names. I'm so sorry, because like there's so many of us and everyone was like pretty much new to me. Jenny, I knew the best. Lindsay, she helped me with words and stuff like that. And anyway, they reached out to me on Facebook. This was like, you know, months before Supernova, and they said, we have this great idea. Do you want, it's all female, like, you know, led review. All the players are female, all the performers. Do you want to be a part? And I just said yes. I mean, because it sounded incredible. I was like, I can't believe these people are asking me to do this. And over the next few months after that, you know, they were arranging the song, picking the songs, arranging the songs. We had a group chat. We were all talking, and we were sending things that had nothing to do with Rude Girl Review, you know, like cute memes and like jewelry, all kinds of weird stuff, just being weird and like getting to know each other. And then they had a rehearsal on the East Coast with as many people that could be there. Obviously, I couldn't be there. And then they had a mandatory rehearsal on the Thursday before Supernova began. So I flew out a day early. I flew out on Wednesday to go to this rehearsal. And so we had 2 rehearsals, and I was at one. And just going into the rehearsal, it was in John Kwan's place from the Pie Chasers. And that was really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And yeah, going in there and just hearing how together everybody already was, and the energy in the room, you know, we were all nervous because I think we all set our expectations really high, and we wanted to impress the pants off of like everybody at Supernova. Yeah, well, that was the thing. It was like, we want to knock everyone's socks off, but like we've had 2 rehearsals. So we were all sort of just like, we were pumping each other up. You know, every time you looked at another lady at Supernova that was performing and maybe they looked like nervous, somebody would be like, it's gonna be great, like it's gonna be so great, people are gonna be talking about this for years. So you know, it just became a big club. And then when we got up there, it blew my mind. I was like, there were tears. I could see people in the crowd just like crying, you know, just seeing all of us up there. So it felt historical, even almost, just because of all the faces I could see in like the first few rows. They called all the females, all the femmes, like everybody, all the allies up to the front. And we just had a big girl party and everybody got to participate. So it was really neat, especially since as a female in the ska scene, I'm sorry, we're not very well represented, you know, for whether it's the scene's quote unquote fault, or it's, you know, just that a lot of us aren't trying to be musicians or in this specific genre. Yeah, so it was really powerful, I think, to get us all together to sort of even show each other that like we know what we're doing. Like we're
That's
badass and like,
Right.
you know, we have a place here. So it's cool.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Mhm. It's a huge pleasure to introduce the brilliant and dynamic, our producer, Eric Kohler. Take center stage. Take center
Hi
stage.
there.
He has some fun questions, right?
I do.
Yeah,
Tara,
man.
so great to finally meet you, virtually at least. I know we didn't run into each other at the Grammy Museum.
Yeah, sorry.
I saw a lot of Chuck. Chuck, great to see you again. And I've enjoyed these questions. And just to stay on the Rude Girl review, I saw some online footage and it was spectacular. I couldn't make it in person, and I echo everything you're saying, and Chuck, your response. I mean, it was pretty amazing to see so many powerful and talented female musicians and singers up there. I thought it delivered what would probably everyone wanted to deliver and so much more. So I would love to see more of that continue. And to your point, Tara, throughout the ska scene, definitely female musicians and singers are definitely not represented as much, and I don't think for whatever reason more of this and more bands like yourself and Half Past Two, and I love the camaraderie as well. I mean, I see a lot of camaraderie between you and say Bite Me Bambi, another great band here in Orange County. And earlier you were talking about some of your great influences between No Doubt and Dancehall Crashers and say Ferris, and so it seems like based on everything that's happening, maybe the tides can turn, right, and there can be a lot more of a great push for some really talented bands fronted by talented women like yourself. So
yeah. Oh, Rude Girl Review, there's plans. There are plans.
Good.
It can't stop. The Tara Kish, who was one of the organizers,
Yep.
After we got off stage, she was like, let's do it again tomorrow night. Let's do it again on Sunday
Wow.
night. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So she was like, I got plans. This train is
great.
moving. Yeah. That's not the last you have heard from Rude Girl Review.
I would imagine not. And congratulations on your new album. Congratulations to both of you and to Phil who is not here. So gonna ask a few questions from fans and then a couple from yours truly. What's and this is actually for both of you. What's your favorite track off the new album?
My favorite track is Shine. Yeah, that one. I like Shine. It was actually on Ska Against Racism. Wow, look at it. It's blue. It looks so nice.
You haven't seen it as yet.
I have seen the blue, but I haven't seen the tape. Oh, look, it's pink. It's so pretty.
Hey, Chuck, what about Reel to Reel?
Well,
you can get our laser disc. He's got that too.
Okay, if you're gonna make the reel to reel joke, hold on.
You know what I mean? You're joking.
Oh, I know what you mean. Here we go. If you made the joke.
Wow.
That's amazing. Okay,
so don't make the joke, otherwise.
All right. So Tara, sorry, you said your favorite track was.
Oh, I like Shine. We also Shine was a song that we put together, like we not rewrote. We made it full band for Ska Against Racism. But I wrote that song for my daughter who has spinal muscular atrophy, and it just means like a whole lot to me. I used to not like it because it gives me anxiety because it's so personal to me, but sure. I think it is my favorite song on the record just because I think there's so much meaning in it. I have a lot of people, even at Supernova, that was so like cool. Somebody walked up to me and they told me like a whole story about how much this song means to them and like, to their family. Wow. And so I don't know. That's my favorite one.
I can imagine. And Chuck?
Okay, well, all the singles are fantastic. Well, this is gonna throw some people off because on the record, I think that the final song, A Place Where We've Been, is phenomenal. And it's not a ska song. And I'm not trying And I'm not trying to push you in a non-ska direction because that would not be good for me. But there's literally something about that song, the emotions involved. And it's a phenomenal way of ending the record until people get the record or CD or hear it in order. Like, you know, when this thing goes streaming, please listen to this thing in the order that people want you to listen to.
It's so
You know,
profound.
that's one of the things that drives me nuts about, you know, digital and streaming is it tears apart the art of, you know.
People don't really do long play.
So please don't do that, people. So listen to this record in the order that Half Past Two wants you to, because when you do that and you hear the final song, you'll see what I'm talking about. It just has this beautiful pop aspect to it. I mean, it's almost like the perfect end credits of a 90s rom-com.
I'm so surprised that you picked that song. Like,
Wow,
I'm so surprised.
I figured you'd be surprised, but you know, I do listen to a lot of stuff in general, both in you know my work and just you know being tangentially involved with many different music scenes over the years. And when I heard that final song, it was literally like that was it for me. I know it's gonna send ripples in the ska community. But it's really a fantastic song, and you know, I literally thought to myself I could hear that song over other ones being placed in like some sort of you know Netflix original comedy or something. So you know, go take your publishing and get somebody to push that song. I think there's a lot of future in that song. And
all right, potential.
I'm sorry, ska fans. You know, I just gave you the Easter egg that there's a non-ska tune
like
on
what
there.
You like, yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. I'm intrigued.
That's so powerful and profound. Yeah.
So talk about the I guess for maybe the first single, Big Energy, and the great
last single.
Sorry, the last.
Yeah.
The last single, Big Energy.
Yeah. What about it? You just want to know about it.
Yeah, and the video. The video.
And the video. Well, the funny thing about Big Energy is a lot of the songs on this. So we haven't released a full length album since 2009. So it's been 12 years since we put out a full length, and we just haven't done it because we didn't see music going that way. We didn't see people like wanting albums. They just wanted to consume. It was like singles, like at most an EP. So when we did this album, there are actually a lot of like nods back to our first album. And on our first album, there is a song that I can't stand it. I hate it. I mean, I'm on it. I hate it. It's called Rock You Out. And we wrote it in the studio. Aaron Barrett would like, produce that album with us. And he was like, I really like this thing, you guys, the song. And so like, it sounds cool. Like the guitars in it are cool, but the lyrics are like they're terrible. They're cringy. And the boys always like to get me with that song. So when we were doing the new album, they brought Big Energy and they were like, this is going to be Rock You Out 2.0. And I was like, I was terrified. I said, okay, well, I won't let it be that. I'm not going to let it be that. So, we worked on it a lot. We wanted it to be sort of ridiculous because we were in the studio so much. It was the, pandemic times and it was fun. We were just like, how big can we make it? Can we make this like 80s, like, we have a lot of really awesome musicians in our band. So we just went for it. It needed to be the opener because it's the opener on the album. It had to be the opener because it's just like, it's so obnoxious. The video was done by our friend Ray Mystic, and they're just like she just started making videos. Actually, this is only her second video. She's done a lot of photography for us and a lot of people around the scene. We just sort of like went with it. We usually use our friend Chris Grau or my husband, Greg. He makes videos for us too. But we just wanted to see, and we already knew that she sort of had this vision for it. And she even told us, she's like, it's going to be like circus, 80s rock and ska. She's like, she's like, I promise it will land. I know it sounds crazy, but it will
vision.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And that's what I said. I said, you got the vision. Like, let's do it. We're half
Run
past
with
2
it.
and we're ready. So yeah, we went full out, and we found a fire eater. Like, we just tried to be as ridiculous as we could. We actually tried to find like live animals and stuff like that, but we're not big time. We do this with our own money because we just love what we do. We just love to make people laugh and like have fun and want to go to shows. That's our biggest. The only reason we do everything we do online is to try and get people to come out,
So speaking of shows, you do have a album release show coming up.
Yeah, we on November 5th, the 5th, no, Friday, November 5th. Sorry, we changed it because Hepcat, it was supposed to be on the 6th, and then Hepcat announced their show on the 6th, and we were like, not competing with that. Heck no. So we moved it to the 5th. It's at House of Blues Anaheim in the parish, and it's us, Goodwin Club, Hooray for Our Side, our punk band friends, Trash Monsters, and there's one more band. The Von Tramps. Sorry, they're from Texas. Right. And it's gonna be fun. Our shows are the shows that we host. There's always so many shenanigans. We're an Orange County ska band. Like, we're no mystery to like throwing giant inflatable whatever things out into the crowd, confetti cannons, lights, costume changes. We love it all. Just like I was saying earlier, we're just doing this. We do it for fun, so we just want to have fun. We have some really crazy stuff planned.
And going back to the video side of things, are there plans, anything in the making for videos for the new album at this point?
We have a rule that we've had for years that if it's a single, it has to have a video. Like, it has to. And
that's the way to go now.
Yeah, that's the way to go, because that's what online at least, it's the way that people want to see something too. They don't just want to, like, no one just sits down to listen usually, but so there's always plan to do videos. I mean, we plan to do videos for things that don't have anything to do with the album, but yes, we do plan to do I think there are a couple other songs on there that we want to maybe do a couple videos for, but there are quite a few singles on there. We've made 7 videos for this album so far. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's amazing. So outside of Supernova, because I can tell by your enthusiasm and how memorable and excited that event was, but what are some of the career highlights for you, Tara?
I would have to say when we were like a little baby band, and we, Aaron Barrett from Real Big Fish, who is like a huge idol of ours, we gave him a EP, like a demo actually, at a burger joint when we ran into him, and he listened. Like, he always does this. I don't care who you are. He'll listen to 3 songs on your EP. He doesn't care how big or small you are. He'll listen. He listened to it and he liked it, and he said, I want to record you guys. And that was like the beginning of Half Past 2. So if that's a career highlight, I mean, like they always say, don't meet your idols. That was,
and how many years after you started was that?
I mean, we started the band sort of like in high school, so like that was 2004. I mean, he sort of adopted us in probably like 2007, 2008. Yeah. And then he did our very first EP, Closet Polar Bear, and then he helped produce our only album until Friday. It's About Time. So that was like a pretty big highlight. And then because he had produced our EP and stuff, he took us out. Real Big Fish sort of took us out on 2 small little tours. And, when you're that young, it was pretty outstanding. I mean, it wasn't, we're sleeping on floors and, eating McDonald's if we're like sharing, and, per diem was like, here's $1, because there's like 10 of us. But
just like Truck's trick out here last weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's can we get some
I was stealing
food?
tacos off plates.
Yeah, see? And so that was the highlight. And I don't know. I think honestly, I know this sounds so cheesy. Everything lately has been such a highlight, because I said this before too, this is what we do for fun, you know. Everything that's happened to us recently is like a blessing. We just want to tell everybody thank you, because yes, we put in a lot of work, but this is work that we would be doing no matter what, because this is what we like to do. So the fact that people listen and they want to like see us in Virginia, they want to like watch our videos, they want to buy our record.
Yeah.
You guys are like making the dream come true. So
and you're providing a lot of joy and entertainment to them, and for them. So
yeah, well,
that's amazing.
Give and take.
What are some, Tara, another question for you. What are some other contemporary ska oriented bands that you are currently enjoying and that you would recommend our listeners and viewers check out?
I like, there's We Are the Union there on my shirt. I adore We Are the Union. But Catbite, especially for like the crowd of people that are like, I don't know, you know, ska music was such a joke and I don't like ska punk music. I just listen to Catbite. I promise.
Yeah,
like,
I'll play them for you. Great.
Yeah, you'll love Catbite. They're great. And they're great people. You know, Kill Lincoln, a lot of the bands on Bad Time, I mean, I have to give ups to, because not only are they good, but they're like friendly and they you know, support each other. Bite Me Bambi, of course, our like sister band, because Talina is like my sister and we're from Orange County. In our scene in Orange County, Hooray for Our Side, I want to like make sure I talk about them too. But yeah, I like a lot of the new bands, but I would say they're more, the bands that I like are more pop punk, although there are a lot of like traditional ska bands in LA. Like I love the Steady 45s, I love the Delirians, I love Jackie Mendez. So yeah, there's
nice variety right there. Yeah, I definitely think there's some it's a healthy time. I mean, you know, Chuck, we talked about this when you were out here too. I mean, you know, a lot of books, right, written about ska. But Chuck, question for you, and this is, you touched on this out here as well, but what is unique about California ska? We don't need to zero in necessarily on Southern California or Los Angeles, but over the years, you know, what's been so unique about out west?
Did I really touch upon this? Oh, okay. I mean, there's always been a diversity of bands, but you know, I always thought that, at least, you know, back in the day, there was a lot of connection between them. So, I mean, you know, Hepcat being, you know, the most traditional of traditional bands gets a lot of love from everybody else, you know, and vice versa. You know, Greg's a fan of everybody who's playing ska music, you know, and I do feel there's a tremendous community in not only, you know, California in general, but definitely in Los Angeles. So even though the sounds are all, you know, different and everyone brings a unique, you know, ingredient to the table, you know, they're all on the same team. You know, it's really, you know, a tight scene, and, you know, one that over the years, you know, regenerates itself. You know, there's a lot of, you know, people like me who wish we, you know, had some younger bands that were coming up that became the Delirians and Steady 45s. I mean, those bands are phenomenal, you know, or, you know, a Half Past Two, for example. I mean, they've been, you know, killing it for, you know, a decade plus. You know, they started young. It's really hard, you know. We always want to try to, you know, go back and do all ages shows and somehow re-energize, you know, that all ages fan base. And people like me are just, you know, scratching our heads trying to figure out what to do. And I think a lot of the key to that success, maybe in Southern California, is that there are a lot of young people. I mean, people in their teens and very early 20s starting ska bands, because that's attractive to somebody who's young, right? You know, some kid who's 14, 15, 16-year-old would probably like to see a band made of people at most in the early 20s. You know, they feel a little bit more akin to that. And that was definitely a huge part of the 90s, you know, ska boom
Right.
was that, there were a lot of young bands, and the young bands brought young fans. And, not to knock all of the bands that are still going strong, but, it's really hard, I think, sometimes for a young fan to associate themselves, even if the band's a legacy band and still killing it and doing great, and they sit there like, but these guys are all in their 50s and 60s. I mean, should I be at this show? So that's why I think it's important for a lot of these, legacy bands to bring, younger bands into the fold, opening for them, playing with them, touring with them, because they're going to be the gateway to get people to them,
Yep.
I mean, the Scatolites still do that. They still, Ken will still every so often check in with me and like, oh, we're playing these shows in this area. What young band, up and coming band, should we at least try to reach out to, and I'll try to give him a list and see if it works out. But he understands that, right?
Enough the Scatolites for the record.
Right, exactly. I mean, here's a band that's like older than all the 90s, legacy bands. And they realize that, like, look, our music still appeals to young people, but we need, 2 or 3 layers to get them to us. So, LA's been really good about that. I mean, I remember the first time I heard the Steady 45s, and I was like, how old are they? And they were kids. I'm like, oh, why doesn't this happen here? In Chicago, it's amazing, So you guys are definitely.
We have weather. We have the weather.
I was just gonna say, maybe it's the weather.
We have the weather, and like all the way from San Diego all the way up to San Francisco, like because of the weather, people are going out at night. They want to go listen to music. They want to do stuff. So
it's actually a good segue to the this new type of question. It's like a dream question, so to speak. So, Tara, if you could put together an ideal touring package with obviously 2:30, right? What other couple bands would you put on that could tour the U.S.?
That could tour the U.S. This is my fantasy.
Yes.
This is my fantasy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about that for a second, Chuck. I'm going to set this up and ask you the question, and then I'm going to circle back around to Tara. And for Chuck, for you. Yes. The dream concert for Chicago. Made up of legends.
Well, I mean, we tried that. We did that reggae fest.
No, I know. But think about another one coming up that you hypothetical. All right, circling around with you, Tara.
Maybe to some extent, it was people that I didn't get a chance to.
There we go. So
things fell through, sometimes in ways that you just don't understand.
Yeah.
But I still need to see Ken Booth.
We talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I mean, I've got to see him somewhere. Maybe Junior, you should book him so I can just fly out there. It seems like the easiest.
Yes, sir.
Another Spirit flight. 6 a.m. I'll come to see him. Your place. I was trying to get Althea and Donna to do. Because they're still around. They're in Florida.
Right.
They were
Florida?
teasing about doing shows.
Where are they now? In Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'd gotten, into a discussion trying to get them for Reggae Fest back in 2018. And, it kind of, that was put together so quickly that I said, look, I can't, kick the tire any longer. I mean, if you're not really interested, it's totally fine. Just let me know. But I'm not someone who likes to play games. So tell me what you want.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you I can do it or not, and kind of got ghosted there. I'm like, okay, well, and in the end it worked out because I got Keith and Tex, who were amazing.
Nice. Yep.
But yeah, Ken Booth, Althea and Donna. Who else haven't I seen? I mean, you guys have done like some great shows with like the tenors and stuff like that. And even though, unfortunately we lose a member, every few years, it's still like a really good show that you guys, put on. So I'd like to see that. But, I think the ideal ska festival would be something that mixed all the different, all the different styles and waves. I mean, once again, it's got to get, young people to the, to the altar. I mean, so, having all those, Jamaican legends, and I think that's kind of the mentality that Tim from Supernova has. He's trying to create a festival that has a little bit of everything, because if there's something for everybody, then everyone's exposed to everybody else. And there were surprisingly a lot of people, right, when the Scatolites were going on, they're like, Chuck, I gotta go. This is the first time I've ever seen the Scatolites. And I'm like, what?
Nice.
I just like, really? How did that happen? It was strange to me, but it was great that someone finally got to see the Scatolites. And that would be my ideal festival. And I'm just sort of glad that Tim's booking it. Because it's a lot of work. And sometimes I can't believe, the amount of logistical / organizational skills he has, because he's got so many irons in the fire, and then he's got to put out the fires too. So,
hats off.
I truly think that the ideal festival is being booked by somebody else now, and he's got the right ideas. And when he reaches out to a few of us and asks our opinion, that's really fulfilling to me.
Yep. Sure.
So before we depart from Chuck, are you still booking bands?
Is anyone still booking bands?
After the pandemic, also in the new year, I asked for a reason.
I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, right now we're approaching the annual Slackfest,
right?
And I was able to help bring a bunch of the, as I call them, the jump up cavalcade of stars on the bill. So we've got the Free Coasters coming up from Florida for the gig, who are a phenomenal band. We've got Boomtown United from St. Louis, and Green Room Rockers, and even Bite Me Bambi is flying out to do a handful of Midwest shows. So, we put together a really eclectic and super interesting weekend. Okay, with ska bands of all shapes and sizes, plenty of female, lead singers, and funky ska sounds, and super traditional ska sounds, and it's tough to get people out. Like people are still, very hesitant about, at least at the moment, going to an indoor venue. And I think
when is it?
When is it?
Yeah.
Second weekend of November at Reggie's.
Right. Yeah.
So we have a few weeks where, hopefully we'll continue to get the reports on, cases dropping and things getting to be more normal.
Right.
But it is hurting the draw quite often at certain clubs, and it's not because of anything they're doing wrong. It's just sort of the pandemic is still spooking people. And but also I realized that until we get some of these people out to their first indoor show, it's hard to get them to go to other shows. So
once they get out and they feel safe, and they don't contract anything.
Right, exactly. But getting people out to that first show is really tough. I mean, I've only done 2. One of them was yours. The other one was a Mustard Plug show where I felt totally safe. Everyone was respectful, wearing masks, at the show. It was young people and old people. Everyone was so respectful. I wish I could tell people that, look, at least here in Chicago and Illinois, I guarantee that people are going to be, playing it cool. It's going to be as safe as it's going to be. But, until we get them out once, it's a tough thing. So, it's tough for me to even try to book shows. I never book shows to make money. I always book shows more to help the community and and to, help the bands that are not only on my label, but, any band trying to go out there and tour is, that's hard work, So I always just sort of wanted to be the cheerleader and to help people to do it. But, I'd like a little bit better percentage of success. And,
Sure.
Maybe next year it's just gonna, be when everything kind of, sinks back in. But at the moment, not only am I not really booking shows, but I'm also not getting asked a ton. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
kind of a
you're still
that's a
slow.
litmus test right
Sure.
there.
Yeah. Okay, but Tara, back to you. So
My fantasy tour.
yeah,
This
fantasy.
is like fantasy football, but
Yeah.
like with ska.
Your
Okay.
fantasy touring
This is-
package,
okay. I don't know how many bands I'm allowed to have on this tour package,
however
but
many you want.
okay. Well, I'm only going to choose bands that I know are active and actively touring.
Great.
That makes
But
sense.
I would I think the biggest person I would want is the Selector. We've played with the Selector twice, and both times
Yeah.
a treat.
Yep.
Everyone dances. It's amazing. I dance. I cry. It's amazing. I get to slap high fives with Pauline Black. It's so cool. And then I think I would choose Mustard Plug because I think they're a really great legacy band. They have taken us to do stuff, and everybody loves them and supports them. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course us. I would like to see Catbite, and because I love Catbite. I also said We Are the Union, but the other band I didn't shout out to before that I would love to tour with or something is Bad Operation. Oh, they're so good. They have one album. They put it out last year. They're a brand new band. They're from New Orleans and they're on fire. They're so good. Their sound is like a little more like, it's like harkens to the older sound, like a more traditional sound, but it's like electric. It sounds so new. It's exciting. I don't know. I would love to go and tour
I've heard
with
a lot
them.
of people talk about them.
Yeah,
Nice.
they're great.
That's a great package. There we go. See, you're putting that out there, and who knows what might come of it.
Yeah, I mean,
We have a brand new feature here on the one-on-one.
most of us are friends. So.
Is that a good idea? Somebody may steal our ideas. I'm just kidding.
Well, if they steal our idea and put
If they steal my idea, I
Right,
don't
there you
care.
go.
Steal it.
It's a
Run
win-win.
with the idea. Yeah, as long as Half Past 2 is part of
And
that
we all
tour
win.
package. Yeah, it'll be
I
great.
love it. That's great. That's great.
Interesting.
Well, as we come to a close, what have we not talked about, or what else would you like to share with our audience here? And then we'll make sure to tell our audience where to find all of you.
Oh, you want me to tell
Any
where they can
closing-
find us?
well,
Any closing thoughts? I just wanted to say I'm so grateful. Like, hello, History of Ska LA. This is insane. Like, why are you talking to me? Yeah, I don't know. I'm so honored to like be just a part of the scene and just to see that there still is one after forever. It was alive and well before me, and this is just proof that it's gonna keep going on and on and on. So
Well,
yeah,
it's important. I mean, you and your band have been around for a while, but it's also important. I mean, you're such a big fan of the music as well, and that comes across. You have a great outlook and a great personality, and so
Commitment,
commitment,
yeah.
devotion,
talent,
dedication.
devotion, dedication, all of that. Yes, 100%.
Thank you.
No, and it's important, and we want to be able to showcase and to talk with modern and contemporary bands that are continuing to carry the torch, but who do appreciate the bands that came before, so to speak, and we just can't get rid of Chuck. Chuck just
You can't.
Like a bad penny, right?
Here's the reason why
Hardworking
you can't get rid of me, because that same enthusiasm that I had when I started the radio show and promoting, accidentally DJing because I just wanted the shows to sound good. I mean, my life is very accidental in many ways, and Jump Up was started because I wanted to promote the Midwest ska bands at the time that no one else was paying attention to. I was jealous. Once again, we go back to this jealousy. I was jealous of everything happening in LA. Northern California as well, and obviously all the Moon East Coast stuff. And Jump Up was started basically to make sure that no one skipped over us, that we weren't just the flyover part, of the country when it came to ska.
Yeah.
There was no intention of it being a career. And I think, to some extent, some of the more successful people, in this world, not just in music, but just in general, are, they're the dreamers first, and as long as you keep dreaming, you're just gonna continue to do what you do.
You get nightmares occasionally.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the key to success is, and I'm still searching out, new bands as much as I can, and I think when I find someone that I really like, believe in, and enjoy, I think, sometimes those bands are a little puzzled. They're like, wait a minute, someone's like really
Interesting.
really into us and really wants to help get us to the next level. And I often tell bands, they're like, look, I'm not your end game, right? Like, if I do my job right, something bigger, someone bigger is gonna take the baton and run with you next. If you get noticed, you get better shows. Yeah.
Plug your radio show. Let people know when and where they can.
Well, I mean, right now it's still kind of in the hiatus because we can't, they're not letting us non-students into the studio. So,
but you're not recording from your record store or home?
Not fully. We kind of do a playlist. I mean, I'm not a podcaster. I mean, nothing against podcasters, but that isn't the world I grew up in. I want to do live radio. I want to talk into the microphone. I want to ramble like I'm rambling right now. But I think that's interesting. I think when people podcast,
it's a good compromise. A podcast is a good compromise.
Sometimes it's a good compromise, but sometimes I think
always when you compromise or you don't do the show.
I don't know. Sometimes I think, some podcasts are very like stoic. There's too much thought has been put into it, too much preparation. And, I'm not that guy. Like, I'm the guy that shows up with a bag of CDs and records, some new, some old, and I make it up as I step into, the studio. And sure, I'll have certain shows to promote, certain things that are more pressing at the time than others, but I am literally doing it by the seat of my pants, and I've been doing it that way, for like 30 years. And I think people who grew up listening to me, realize that they, for one, will never know what they're going to get. They're not going to know what crazy tangent or story I'm going to go into, but I think it's also very authentic, and I think it's very organic. And that's why, prepping and sitting in front of a mic, it's not for me. And I'm not, sitting there and, talking smack about podcasts. There are a lot of good podcasts, and I'm sure plenty of them are, very fluid and interesting because they're unscripted, but, there are a lot of scripted podcasts, and sometimes that's just not for me, so.
The hole in your schedule has left time for other projects, so it's all good.
There we go. There we go. That's
and I have more time to search people out and and learn about new bands and talk to other bands and ask who they're into, and it's
so what has
still
become
exciting.
The time slot that you had, what's happening?
It's Sundays at 9.
No, what is played in that time slot now as we speak?
Is it Sunday? No, it's not Sunday. No, we're still.
No, I'm saying the time slot that you surrendered.
He's asking if anything replaced you. Did anything replace you?
No, we're still putting in a playlist of like ska stuff, and me and my friend Jason, we will program some things, but it's unfortunately right now kind of an afterthought, as I just really want to get back in and do the personal touch that I've always, that's been me, people.
But it's not just still secured until.
Yeah. Okay. No, I keep signing up for it.
Essentially, that's what right. That was my question.
So you will return at some point.
It will come back. Yeah.
It will come back.
Yeah. Okay.
And lastly, the only other thing, so if I have a message for people, it's like, continue to seek out new music. I mean, the problem I think to some extent with 90s ska is that it just, some people never ever listen to anything else, and sure, you're, a big ska fan, but if you're just going back and listening to the same records, that you were, into in high school or whatever, you're missing out. I mean, you're missing out on so much. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that I've had these, discussions with Philip multiple times is, he was able to, obviously build a pretty impressive, Instagram following of, 80,000 plus people.
Let's give a shout out, Ska Punk.
Oh
Daily
yeah,
on
to Ska Punk
Instagram.
Daily on Instagram, and Philip,
Yeah.
who has as much to do with this, union of bobbing heads on Zoom today than anybody else.
Yeah.
But he was able to obviously build a significant following based upon nostalgia, and he's always telling me that, like, okay, obviously, sharing a Save Ferris video from back in the day is going to get a lot of views and a lot of engagement and whatever. But, to him, it's not worthwhile unless he can do something with that, influence and power that is fulfilling to him, and I'm pretty sure I'm not speaking his words, incorrectly. He always wants to expose new bands, and he tries so hard. Okay. And, sometimes, people are stuck in their nostalgia game, but,
Sure.
people like Philip and people like me and people like you are trying to get people out of that comfort zone. We want people to, listen to new things, and we're going to do everything possible to get that to happen. And that's why I'm still here. That's why you can't get rid of me is, I'm still trying to do that. Whether it's a small band from, the Midwest.
We appreciate it. Okay. I want to tell you, all the people that have been doing it for years that are sticking their necks out for like the smaller bands, like we all really appreciate it. We really do.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'd also like to add that, like, we went into slightly in that tangent about there's not enough, obviously, female fronted bands, women musicians in ska. But I'd like to say, to my credit a little bit, that I've put out a tremendous amount of bands with women lead singers, everybody from the Scotch Bonnets to the Fuss to Loving Paupers to Boss Riot to Red Soul Community in Spain. And I'm sure as I continue to think about it, the list grows on, but I've always made it a focus, that I wasn't going to just put out bands with all dudes.
Yeah.
Boys club, right?
Because that's not,
I love that.
that's another, I guess that's another part of the ska scene that got kind of ribbed a lot. It was like, oh, it's party music, it's all a bunch of dudes, and that upset me, because the true ska fans that stuck it out, that wasn't what we were about, and we got a bad rap. The true ska fans were never ever embarrassed about listening to ska or playing ska, and the construct that's out there that somehow, fans were embarrassed of it is really bothers me.
So is that only in America? Because in Europe, the ska fans are diehard.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. Once again, us Americans mess things up for the world.
There we go.
You hit it on the nose.
Example.
But yeah, you're right. Even like Bucket from the Toasters, says, look, you play a certain small town in Europe, and they never forget you, ever. You'll go back there 15 years later, and those people are back, and they brought some more. So, to them, ska was always there. It was part of the music they loved. It never came and went. It never had a period where people, made fun of it. I mean, I think the people who think that ska was, being made fun of weren't really the people who were ska fans. None of us ever were embarrassed at one point to be ska fans,
It was like the popular, I think it was like culture at large was sort of like making fun of it was third wave and stuff. Yeah, so it did get a little embarrassing, I guess, to be. I mean,
I guess I've never been.
I actually felt bad for the bands that were pigeonholed, because Because I mean,
yeah,
if you think about it, like Real Big Fish, who probably took the most punches, right? I mean, they write incredible songs.
they've done
Songs
so
that
much.
people,
Like,
songs
yeah,
that people remember, you know, decades and decades later, and they continued to write new music. So, you know, for a band like that to, you know, take this, you know, unnecessary, you know, abuse of being, you know, ska is party music is really upsetting, you know, and you know, a lot of them just sort of had to stick it out and prove to people that, you know, they had the staying power. But you know, when all that was happening, you know, now that I have clarity looking back at it, like it's kind of tragic what, you know, people at, you know, in general did to those bands. I mean, they totally did not deserve it in any way, shape, or form. And to all the fans that stuck it out, you know, after everyone else, you know, kind of gave up on them. I mean, those are the ones that never were embarrassed of ska.
True
You know,
fan.
they
that's what's
never-
really exciting about the ska scene right now is because like when we started, there was like kind of a lull here in
Yeah.
America, I guess, or maybe just in our area, but not a lot was really going on. And like in the last even 2 years, like people are like they're talking about ska music in such a positive light, and for us, maybe not everyone gets to see it, but like for us, everyone's really young all of a sudden. Like everyone's young again, and it feels weird to us because they think we're new. Like all these young people are like, this new band, Half Past Two.
Right.
And we're like, we're not new. Also,
Take it and
we
run.
probably
A
were a
decade and a
band
half,
longer than
yeah,
you've been
into you.
alive. Yeah,
Right.
like some of these kids were like, you
Not
know,
know you guys are veteran on
toddlers.
the stage.
Yeah, you know, that's
Decade and a
fine.
half.
I'm cool with it. I'm totally fine with that. I think it's like it's a blessing, you
Yeah.
know. So but yeah, I think, you know, if anyone's willing to pay attention to like new ska right now, you're in for a treat because there's so much of it, and a lot of it is great quality. Like it's good. It's not going to be what you may think it's going to be, jokey with like silly lyrics and stuff. No, this stuff is, I am excited to be in a ska band, like an active ska band, because I feel like we could be taken seriously. And we have been. Look, Chuck from Jump Up Records, you know, put out on one of my records. Like that's incredible.
Well, on that note, everyone pay attention to Half Past Two, pay attention to Pay Attention Records, and pay attention to Chuck Wren and Jump Up Records. Tara, where can people find you and your band?
We are Half Past Two Ska, like everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have a website, halfpast2ska.com, which has everything. You can order our record there and the tape, and it will take you to Jump Up Records even, because we sold out of our pink variant. And
thank you.
Yeah, you can go by Blue and Yellow from Jump Up. And yeah, so find us. I mean, we have lots of videos on YouTube too. If you like music videos, we have more than almost anybody. Maybe Ska2 Network is like the only one with more videos than us. So come and check us out.
Excellent. Thank you. And Chuck, where can people find Jump Up and Pay Attention?
Oh, you know, jumpuprecords.com, Pay Attention Records, you know, .com, you know, all those places. But you know, definitely like, you know, Philip and Ska Punk Daily, you know, definitely needs a ton of credit for not only bringing, like I said, all of us together, but kind of being a, you know, the secret weapon behind a lot of people's. I mean, the secret weapon around a lot of people's successes, you know, and. You know, sometimes he shuns from the camera, and I like to try to push him in front of the camera, but I can't do stuff that, you know, I can't force him to do stuff he doesn't want to do.
Sometimes. We asked him. He didn't want to be part of this, but not for any reason other than just
right.
Guys.
So. I think he likes how extroverted myself is, and you know, Tara and other people, and I think I think he knows that, you know, we will, you know, carry on.
He's like, you got it covered. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what he said. He said, between Chuck and Tara.
Wow. And it is covered. It is covered.
Well,
and I have to admit that, like, Philip has put together a phenomenal second compilation of all international ska punk bands.
Yes.
And it's definitely going to be it's going to impress people because it's 30 bands, or is it 33? No, maybe it's 30 bands, but it's basically bands that kind of, took the, for lack of a better word, Americanized, pop punk influenced ska formula, but then did it in their country. And in many cases, they've added something to the mix in addition to that. So, I mean, this collection is just all over the board, bands from all over the world. And, so many of the bands were bands that I hadn't heard of. They were off my spectrum. And that's something we're trying to get out early next year. If there's a miracle, maybe it'll happen by the end of this year. But he once again put together an incredible collection. And it's it's a 2-record set, so he's doubled down on his talents. And that's something that I think the world will pay attention to.
Well, we will stay tuned for that. And thank you both so much. It's been a pleasure, Tara, and congratulations to you and your bandmates. And
thank
Chuck.
you.
Great to see you last weekend. You're so welcome. It was great to see you last weekend, Chuck. Thanks again
thanks for having me.
Making the trek. Yeah, absolutely. And Junior, as always, thank you for all the magic that you made.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I guess we've arrived at our destination. So let me remind everyone to please follow us at History of LA Ska on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join our Facebook group. Please follow me on Instagram at Junor Francis. This series is produced by my good friend here, Eric Kohler, for Rockery Radio. Follow at Rockery Radio _ on Instagram for fresh rock, rhythm, soul, and Jamaican music inspired by daily playlists. Once again, I want to thank each and everyone without exception. I bow in reverence.
Thank you both. Have a wonderful night, Junior.
You too.
And thanks to everyone for watching. You're so welcome. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.